Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Friday Ramblings. It's time for some Christmas spirit. That's why we've got not one, but two gifts for you. We're going to discuss two classic television specials that, frankly, I was looking at my past playlist of Ramblings here, and I was surprised I hadn't done yet. I was sure I had done them, but I didn't. Nope, I had done the Thanksgiving specials. And this time around, we're doing the Christmas specials. That's right, it is Garfield and Peanuts. Because when you are talking classic Christmas animated specials, it does not get much better than this. So let's dive right in and break it down so you can get back to wrapping presents and kissing under the mistletoe. First up, we have the Garfield Christmas special from 1987. It was the first broadcast. Okay. Let me go ahead and try this again. Garfield Christmas Special was from 1987 and featured many of the same cast of the iconic TV show, including Lorenzo Music as the voice of Garfield the House Cat. Was directed by Phil Roman, and the teleplay was itself written by Jim Davis, who has cited it as semi-autobiographical. The special was first broadcast December 21st, 1987 on CBS, and has often been rebroadcast in subsequent years at Christmas time, up until 2000, which was the final CBS broadcast. The special did so well that it was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program, and was the 7th of 12 Garfield television specials made between 1982 and 1991. So, what makes this special so special? Well, being a Christmas special and Christmas time being all about family, John decides to pack up Garfield, Odie, and their presents to go down to the Arbuckle family farm, where we not only get entertainment from his mother and father and brother, but Grandma, who we had seen in the Thanksgiving special that, as I said, I had previously discussed in Ramblings past. That's right, everybody's favorite feisty old lady has returned for another special, and she is still got a lot of wit and energy to her. Special takes place completely at the farm, and going with our little spoilers as possible policy here, because we don't want to intrigue you to watch these, not feel like you don't need to because I've already told you everything. Over the course of the trip back to the family farm, Garfield finds himself conflicted between his usual surly self-centeredness and the Christmas spirit, including being recruited to put the star on top of the Christmas tree and thus show off his cat climbing awesomeness, as well as bonding with Grandma. Although the big finale does ultimately come from Odie, who proves once again that no matter how badly Garfield treats him, Garfield and Odie are family because Odie manages a Christmas gift that even Garfield has to love. Anything specific in here I can say without spoiling it? Well, yes. We get some wonderful Christmas music provided by multiple singers here, including the title theme by Lou Rawls, Oh Christmas Tree by Pat Carroll, Christmas in Your Heart, performed by an ensemble, and Desiree Goyette, as well as Lou Rawls and Desiree teaming up on the You Can Never Find an Elf When You Need One, as well as the ensemble cast closing out with a good old-fashioned Christmas. Pat Carroll also voices Grandma Arbuckle. Because, let's be honest, great specials often involve great music. We also have a classic down-home family binge feast for Christmas Eve night, prompting City Boy John to forget just how much Grandma actually cooks, or rather Mom, with a little help from Grandma, whether Mom wants it or not. Good scene. Little conflict there between the two generations of ladies over what makes good gravy. That's all I'll tell you. But yeah, classic family feasting time, because you gotta binge on the holidays, folks. Dieting's for the other days of the year. You got like 3 days. Thanksgiving, Christmas, you gotta binge. John and his brother Doc Boy breaking out into some childhood antics as hearing those classic Christmas songs and Christmas stories puts them in a childlike mindset, which is great for laughs. Because if anybody is familiar with Garfield, you know John Arbuckle is not far from being a child himself mentally. But throughout all these laughs, there is a little bit of drama. This does factor into the finale, but there is a scene with Grandma as she, Christmas Eve night, sits with Garfield and reminisces about her late husband and how much he enjoyed Christmas. This is a scene where I'm going to have to give 120% credit to Pat Carroll as the voice of Grandma Arbuckle. She handles this scene so beautifully, capturing all the emotions of somebody whose spouse has passed on and has nothing but memories of them to try and keep them happy with, in the just perfectly acted tones. It's not over the top. It is that level of getting lost in memories that now have a little bit of bitterness to the sweet because there will be no new memories added to them. Pat Carroll handles it perfectly, and even though I know it's coming, even though I can recite large chunks of this by heart, having seen the special several times, it still catches me in the feels. Especially with, as it winds down, the musical accompaniment, putting the perfect exclamation mark on the scene. But don't despair. As I said before, feisty Grandma's still there, and this story does inspire Garfield to bring her some very specific Christmas cheer at the end. So everything ends on a happy and high note. As I said before, this was one of a dozen specials produced before the iconic TV series got up and going, and is the most well-known of them. You know, most of the specials were inspired by specific Garfield strips and story arcs. The big three holiday specials are in there: the Halloween, the Thanksgiving, and of course this Christmas one we mentioned. But, you know, the Halloween one's got a cult audience. The Thanksgiving one, like a lot of Thanksgiving specials, is often overlooked. But the Christmas one, that's just it. That's the special most people think of when you ask them about the 80s Garfield specials. It's the perfect mix of comedy, good story, Had a little bit of emotional appeal there. And that great music. So, if you have never seen the Garfield Christmas special before, I highly recommend it. The good news is, even though it may not make broadcast TV this year, it is able to be found on the internet in various places, and more importantly, is regularly released on DVD, especially in the month of December. Usually as part of a box set collection, so you can get multiple TV specials in there, and that's always a good thing. But let's get to the ultimate, the king of TV Christmas specials. That is the Charlie Brown Christmas. It first debuted in 1965 and was the first TV special based on the comic strip Peanuts, of course by Charles Schulz. It was produced by Lee Mendelson and directed by Bill Melendez. Helps to say each word separately. The program debuted on, oh look at that, our old buddy CBS. It's almost like CBS spent a few decades making a lot of really kick-ass television specials, especially of the licensed animated variety. Good on you, CBS. You weren't always primetime dramas. And of course, besides appearing in 1965, it premiered specifically on December 9th. This would be approximately 15 years after the strip's debut in 1950, where over the course of a decade plus it had become a worldwide phenomenon. The special was commissioned and sponsored by the Coca-Cola Company, was written over a period of several weeks, produced on what even then was considered a relatively small budget over 6 months. Now, in casting the characters, the producers decided to do something very non-standard for animation, which is hiring child actors to voice the child characters. Typically, and this even applies today for the most part, especially in television with smaller budgets, they would hire adult VAs, mostly because the adult VAs are capable of handling multiple voices. So yeah, it can hire less actors and still have a pretty decent sized cast. They also decided to do something unorthodox with the soundtrack, basing it on a jazzy score, mostly by pianist Vince Guaraldi. Takes a second there. It's kind of an interesting last name. I do not judge mine. Own can be a little bit. But Vince Guaraldi, who gives the special that perfect little punch when the scenes call for it, because, hey, if jazz is anything going for you, it's the ability to add a little dynamic punch to a scene. That's why jazz is an awesome genre, especially piano jazz. That's some great stuff right there, folks. Seriously. Along with these non-standard takes, they also decided to not use a laugh track, which was a staple in US television, especially animation during this period, as well as the tone, pacing, and music, causing the producers and network to pessimistically predict the project would be a disaster. Of course, some, 40, 50, 8 years later, 57 years later, we know Charlie Brown Christmas was not a disaster. Even in that first year, it received high ratings and acclaim from critics. It has been honored with an Emmy and a Peabody Award, and is an annual presentation in the United States. airing almost exclusively on broadcast television. Its success led the way to a long series of Peanuts television specials and films, some of which is still continuing in 21st century, thanks to the Schultz family, who is managing the intellectual property of the deceased Charles Schultz. The jazz soundtrack itself has gone on to achieve much commercial success, selling at approximately 5 million copies in the US, and live play versions of the Charlie Brown Christmas have been staged in various cities. So, what is the special actually about? Well, it centers on, as you would suspect by the name, Charlie Brown. Now, for those of you not familiar with Peanuts, Charlie Brown is a very serious, pessimistic kind of kid. He focuses on all the things he's not good at in his life, and he's not accomplishing in his life, tending to have a very adult, dreary outlook. Think kind of like a human version of Droopy Dog, if that reference isn't too old for you. Still, Charlie has a great heart and is always happy to help his friends out. Even if he thinks he's not the right man for the job, he will give it his Charlie Brown best. Now, what does this mean? Well, this means he is not the most holly jolly person at Christmas. This year specifically, he just cannot tap into that Christmas spirit. So what's a boy to do? Well, after getting advice from his friend slash antagonistic rival, Lucy, Charlie Brown decides to take over directing the children's Christmas play. However, most of the children, having dealt with Charlie Brown throughout the year, have no respect for him as a director and continue to just basically mess around and do whatever they want because they're children. Charlie, being a child himself, doesn't have much authority to draw on. However, he will not relent and insists on doing what he can to make the Christmas play great. Eventually being recruited to get a Christmas tree, despite being advised by Lucy to get the biggest, brightest fake tree out there, in this case aluminum, which was a thing back in the 60s. Now we got the fake trees with the kind of fibrous needles that look really authentic until you get close up on them. But yeah, aluminum Christmas trees were a thing in the 60s when the special was written. Makes things look a little bit dated now, but if you just focus on the idea of getting a big, bright, fake tree, it works. However, Charlie Brown, being Charlie Brown, just cannot see something gaudy being part of Christmas. So he gets not just a real tree, but the smallest, puniest real tree in the lot. Tree that is basically a upright stick with a few needles on it that are shedding rapidly. Presenting this to the play, he is ridiculed and mocked, as tends to happen a lot for Charlie Brown, by most of the kids. Taking the tree home with him, he refuses to believe the tree is a complete failure and that with a little love and care, it can be made into a proper Christmas tree. Borrowing some lights from Snoopy, who had decorated his doghouse for a neighborhood Christmas home decoration contest, Charlie does his best to bring the tree to life and glory. His best friend Linus comes in and helps out, and they managed to make something impressive, inspiring the other kids to give the puny tree a chance, because, as Charlie put it, I never thought it was that bad. All this leads to Linus giving the big speech. This is iconic, to the point that I'm sure some people who have not seen the entire Christmas special have heard this speech somewhere, where Linus points out what Christmas is all about, in this case, reminding folks about the Christ in Christmas. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there. For my listeners who are non-Christian, like everything Peanuts related, the Christmas special does center around good Christian values, because Charles Schulz himself was a good Christian and it shined through in his writing. So just be prepared for that. There is a bit of religious undertone to the film, especially in the finale. But again, if you've ever exposed yourself to Peanuts, you're probably somewhat expecting this. Still, I know not everybody likes hearing, hey, pro-Christian values. Christian values are awesome. So just be prepared for that if you've never seen the special before and are considering it. Giving information out, not judging anybody on any side of the equation, but that's a big part of what Peanuts is. Make the informed decision that's best for you. Now, this is, to me personally, the most ironic part of the Charlie Brown Christmas special legacy. And I am going to get on a little bit of a soapbox here. Maybe not a full soapbox, like the big shipping ones, maybe just like the individually wrapped soapbox bar. And that is that, besides pointing out that, yes, Christmas was at its core supposed to be a celebration of Jesus Christ and not gaudy, bright, materialistic things, Linus doubled down on that, pointing out, along with this grand moral, that the tiny puny tree was a better Christmas tree than the big fake aluminum ones, which aren't even necessarily natural green, because Christmas is not about material things. It's not about the greed of obtaining things. It's about the family and the Savior. And yet, despite the fact that that is what the special is all about, people love merchandising the sin out of this Christmas special. For several years now, it has been easily obtainable in large market locations. Not even like obscure specialty shops that you really got to go looking for, but it's now pretty much any place that sells Christmas tree stuff. You can get the official Charlie Brown puny Christmas tree for your own. You can get stickers. You can get stockings. You can get various Christmas decor, like the little balls and everything for your tree, whether it's the puny tree or not. I mean, this year I saw Charlie Brown Christmas makeup. Not even like a full-blown set with the lipstick and everything, but like just one of the little, what do they call them, the eyeshadow palette kits. Where it's like 5 different shades of eyeshadow. It was branded the Charlie Brown Christmas eyeshadow set. What? I don't even think anybody in the special even wore eyeshadow. You never see adults' faces. You'll hear them. You might see like the lower legs or a bit of arm. None of the children wore eyeshadow. What does eyeshadow have to do with the Charlie Brown Christmas? What does branded candy have to do with the Charlie Brown Christmas? I understand the DVD release. I would have understood if one year they did the puny Christmas trees, like for the big anniversary, you know, like, hey, 50th anniversary, let's roll out the Christmas tree just this one time. But it's there year after year, you know, and every year there is more Charlie Brown Christmas stuff. Just, I love the special. Okay, it is, as I said, it is the king of Christmas TV specials. It's almost mandatory viewing for Americans. But just before you buy something that happens to say Charlie Brown Christmas on it, remember the whole point of the special was not to buy Christmas nonsense in order to show your loyalty to the Christmas spirit. The Christmas spirit comes from in here. Well, not the ghost. Ignore the Ghostbuster logo. Comes from in the heart, under the logo. Right about there. It's not dead center. That's the sternum. It's a little over there. Comes from the heart. Comes from the soul. See? Soul, spirit. So just think through. Is this something worth having? Or are companies just trying to manipulate you into buying something because it's logoed, references a special that told you not to buy stuff just to buy stuff? Just a little bit of thought. Put a little bit of thought into your Christmas. That's all I'm asking, folks. And with that, from Garfield, from Charlie Brown, from all their friends and family, and from the Roulette Productions friends and family, I wish you a Merry Christmas. We will be back to close out the year, and we will continue to be back in 2023. Because my Christmas spirit has a Friday Rambling spirit that enjoys doing this for you people. And even for the non-people. You know? I don't know. Maybe your cat likes to sit there and listen to me talk. Maybe your dog likes seeing the random hand movements. That's fine. We'll do it for the animals too. I like the animals. And they're part of the family too. So Merry Christmas to them.